The 1988 Minnesota Vikings took some determined steps forward, removing obstacles and rewriting records on their path to the playoffs.
Chandler fires long. Carl Lee's got it! Carl Lee's got it!
An incendiary mix of all pros stoked a flame that warmed the Metrodome and scorched opponents.
Everett throws on the run. It's intercepted. Joey Brunner. Wilson drops to throw. Goes to the end zone. Hassan Jones. Touchdown, Minnesota.
In their finest season in 12 years, the Vikings were often a cut above. Their average margin of victory was an extraordinary 3 touchdowns. Clearly, pro football's most lethal weapons played in Minnesota.
Alfred Anderson at the 10, the 5, touchdown, Minnesota!
There's a game ball for the damn NFC Coach of the Year, Burns.
Yet for Jerry Burns, 1988 was not the best of times. All goals were not reached. Some dreams remain unfulfilled. The playoff loss to the eventual Super Bowl champion 49ers made good enough, not quite good enough for the Vikings. But Minnesota could indeed be great. Nowhere was this more evident than in Chicago on the season's 3rd Sunday. The defense lit the fuse, and the Bears were burned with their worst home loss in 13 years.
Touchdown, Minnesota!
Following an impressive 36-6 win over the Patriots, this devastation of the Bears on hallowed Soldier Field sent a strong message to the rest of the NFL that the Vikings had taken their place among the league's elite.
There is time to 20 now with a first down and Kramer to throw. Tommy goes. Hassan Jones, touchdown, Minnesota.
This was the kind of dominant performance that Minnesota repeated frequently in 1988. Further proof that this team had stepped to the forefront.
A high, lazy kick away. McKinnon's back there for Chicago, and he's going to field it at the 9. McKinnon cuts to his right, lost the football. Vikings are going to cover it. McKinnon dropped the ball, and Martin scores. Way to go, good.
Zoom, fire 632, call, get quick. Zoom, fire 632.
If the Vikings get it in the end zone here, it's going to be a long haul back for Chicago. Tommy Kramer back to throw. Look out, pressure. He throws to the end zone. He's got a man out there. Touchdown, touchdown. It is Anthony Carter in the corner. He made the catch. Oh, what a beauty.
In achieving their winningest season since 1976, the Vikings returned to the foundation of their greatest success. In the 1970s, Minnesota's stamp of dominance was defense. And now, over a decade later in 1988, no team in the National Football League played better defense than the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota boasts a talented and versatile starting 11, featuring 5 Pro Bowl performers, more than any team in the NFL. Linebackers Jesse Solomon and David Howard did not share Pro Bowl honors with Scott Studwell, Keith Millard, Chris Dolman, Carl Lee, and Joey Browner. Yet they all had a hand in helping the Vikings lead the NFL in total takeaways, forcing an average of more than 3 per game.
Second man through and lost the football. The Vikings have covered it. It's Studwell. Minnesota takes over.
And drops to throw. Looks right the whole way and lost the football. It's scooped up. The Vikings have got it. And in the end zone, touchdown Minnesota. And it's Henry Thomas.
Hardware Hank, Henry Thomas, quickly becoming one of the unsung heroes of this Viking defense.
This was a defense with very offensive tendencies, propelled by a secondary that featured Isaac Holt, Reggie Rutland, John Harris, and All-Pros Browner and Lee. They gunned down quarterbacks with alarming frequency on a trail that led to a league-high 36 interceptions, also a new Viking standard. Throughout 1988, the danger of throwing against the NFC's toughest pass defense was exposed. A 5-game stretch in the season's second half crowned Minnesota's defensive performance as Olympian. In those 5 games, the defense allowed 1 touchdown. The Colts and Eric Dickerson were victims of the Vikings' golden efforts, and part of an even more extraordinary streak of 38 games in which Minnesota did not surrender 100 yards to any opposing running back. The 12-3 victory over Indianapolis was testimony that the Vikings had seized control of territory reserved for the NFL's best. It was a win chiseled by defense and sculpted by the foot of Chuck Nelson.
Vikings have 1 interception today. That was Carl Lee's. They'd love to get another. Hogaboom throws. Carl Lee's got it at the 7-yard line. You call his number and you get it again. It is good. Nelson from 49.
Nelson's poise under pressure had also lifted Minnesota to a last-minute early season victory over the Eagles, a game whose importance, unclear in Week 4, crystallized as the year took shape. New Orleans was the last to be sacrificed in Minnesota's 5-week defensive ritual, as the Vikings reduced a strong Saints team to rubble with 1988's most dominating performance. Again, the defense took center stage. For the 5th time, Minnesota did not allow the opposition to get into the end zone. And against the Saints, that proved to be 2 fewer times than Carl Lee and Jesse Solomon crossed the goal line.
Hebert from the shotgun again. Deep over the middle. Intercepted by Carl Lee. 45, midfield. Carl Lee to the 40, 35, 30. Carl Lee down the sideline. Touchdown, Minnesota. Do you believe it? Here comes the pressure. Got away, through, and it's intercepted by Jesse Solomon. 30, 40, Solomon to midfield. We might have another Minnesota touchdown. Jesse Solomon will score.
This 45-3 demolition of the Saints demonstrated just how total a team the Vikings had become in 1988. They were deep and talented, with contributions spanning the entire roster, from rookies like Al Noga, number 99, to leading special teams tackler Wyman Henderson, to clutch 3rd down receiver Jim Gustafson, number 80. The Week 14 win over the Saints showcased a starter as well. Hassan Jones, the smooth wideout whose polished play in 1988 was a step toward stardom.
Wade Wilson wanted to throw and does to Hassan Jones at midfield. 40. Hassan at the 35, 30, 25, 20. Dave Weimer trying to catch him. He can't. Hassan's got it. Touchdown, Minnesota.
After 7 weeks of the 1988 season, the 4-3 Vikings stood at the crossroads. Two paths revealed themselves. One was filled with the darkness of missed opportunities and unattained goals. The other was a passage to a place in the sun. The spotlight illuminated Minnesota's road to success. Minnesota's first call to glory was answered in Tampa on the season's 8th Sunday, with Wade Wilson raising his level of performance to new heights that helped earn the 8-year veteran Pro Bowl recognition for the first time. And in 1988, wide receivers Anthony Carter and Hassan Jones and tight end Steve Jordan combined to catch more passes for more yards than any other starting trio of receivers in the NFL. Against the Bucs, Wilson, Carter, Jones, and Jordan headlined a 49-20 stampede, mobilizing a season-ending avalanche that saw Minnesota win 7 of its final 9 games.
Play action. Wilson rolls, looks right, waits, and he goes. Touchdown, Steve Jordan.
In those 7 victories, the Vikings averaged nearly 35 points per game, and they surpassed the 40-point mark 4 times. Anthony Carter shared top billing with Hassan Jones to produce one big hit after another.
Wilson back to throw. Here comes the pressure. Throws long. Hassan Jones has got it at the 30, 20, 10. Touchdown, Minnesota.
Running back Rick Finney, number 31, sprung loose by Kirk Loudermilk's block and escorted downfield by Terry Tausch and Randall McDaniel, added grit to the Viking attack.
Wade Wilson, sprint draw, Rick Finney off the right side. Finney's got some room, 15-10. Finney to the 5. Finney's in. Touchdown, Minnesota. Oh, a 20-yard gem for Rick Finney.
The point totals for the Viking offense increased at a rate that sometimes only seemed comprehensible to a computer-like mind. One reason was Anthony Carter. Number 81 reached a milestone in 1988. He became the first receiver in Viking history to exceed 1,200 receiving yards. His 72 catches reflected both consistency and a knack for the spectacular. Ahmad Rashad, the former Viking whose single-season yardage standard Carter shattered.
Big game player. Boy, I tell you, if it's on the line, Anthony Carter will make it happen. He's one of these guys, when you look at him physically, he's skinny, he's small, great hands, big play player, or the best receiver that's in the National Football League now.
AC's tough. I've been playing against him for 10 years since we were freshmen in college, and he's the best. When you talk about complete wide receivers, Anthony Carter's name is first to come to mind, simply for the fact that aside from the speed and quickness he has, he is one of those guys who loves to go across the middle.
Despite his 175-pound frame, AC is fearless navigating pro football's most perilous terrain. He's a slasher whose darting moves in the middle cut the defense down to size.
Anthony Carter 45-40. AC to the 35. Waits for a block. And Anthony Carter has been a marvel in the open field here early. 41 yards on the pickup.
For the Vikings, 1988 was a season of outstanding team and individual accomplishment. Veterans like Steve Jordan, selected to play in his third consecutive Pro Bowl, and Scott Studwell, a two-time Pro Bowler and Minnesota's career leader in tackles, pointed the way to victory with their attitude and their performance. Young veterans like Keith Millard flourished in this winning environment. The Vikings' emotional spark plug earned All-Pro honors for the first time. Rookies also embraced success. Number 1 pick Randall McDaniel started more games than any first-year offensive lineman in team history. While the secondary welcomed a pair of Pirates, number 29 Darrell Fullington and Brad Edwards, number 27.
Off play action, Testaverde wants to throw and goes over the middle. It's intercepted. The rookie will score. Touchdown, Minnesota Vikings.
The Vikings were Miss America's team, as beautiful to behold as Minneapolis native Gretchen Carlson. Yet their precise pitch was not music to the ears of Mike Ditka, who enchanted the Metrodome Maestros on the season's final Monday night. But the Bears could not tune out Minnesota's stirring symphony.
On the run, takes it to 33, to the 40, 45, Lewis 50, 45, 40, Leo Lewis, 35, 30, Lewis might go, 20, 10, he's all the way to the 3-yard line, Leo Lewis to the 3, it's first and goal, Minnesota. Allen Rice, Alfred Anderson, dual backfield, they both got 6 touchdowns rushing this year. Alfred Anderson's got 7. Touchdown.
The Vikings, who started this 1988 rivalry with Chicago in Sweden, magnetized the Metrodome by exploding out of the blocks to a 21-3 halftime lead and were in position to sweep the Bears for the first time since 1980. This time, however, the Bears would not go down without a fight.
Anderson a big hole, 45-40, Anderson 35, cuts to the middle at the 30, 25-20, he might go, Neil Anderson, touchdown Chicago, and the Bears are right in the thick of this one.
With the game on the line and the crowd on the edge, the NFL's best defense
3rd down and 2, Chicago
took it to the limit.
At the Viking 8-yard line. Tomczak will throw for it. Over the middle, it's intercepted. Walker Lee Ashley. He's in their territory. Walker Lee Ashley is going to go. Touchdown, Minnesota. Touchdown, Minnesota. The longest interception return for a touchdown in Minnesota Viking history.
This dramatic victory over the Bears gave the Vikings their most successful regular season in 12 years, an 11-5 record that was second best in the NFC. The just reward, a playoff game at the Metrodome for only the second time in the decade.
And they line up. Vikes versus the Rams. Get the programs here.
For the first time in 6 years, the Vikings host a playoff game here at the Metrodome. And for the second straight season, the opposition comes from the NFC West. Today, the Rams riding a 3-game winning streak come to Minneapolis. Happy holidays, everybody. Brad Nessler and Stu Voigt with you. With the cold and snow outside, the Vikings look to put the heat on Jim Everett and the Rams here in Minneapolis today and hope that Minnesota fans later will be walking in a wild card winner's winter wonderland.
With the Metrodome celebrating the final home appearance of the 1988 Vikings, the team that had stepped forward as one of the league's best stamped its signature on the Rams early in the game.
The Vikings like to find the opposition with long yardage situations. A 3rd and 17 is just what the doctor ordered. Remember, this club led the NFL with 36 interceptions. Everett drops to throw, rolls left. Everett throws on the run. It's intercepted, Joey Browner.
The usual all-pro performance from Joey Browner and an inspired effort from linebacker Ray Berry, number 50, making his first NFL start, charged the defense. The offense was fortified by tackles Tim Irwin, a starter in every game since 1982, and Gary Zimmerman, number 65, an all-pro in each of his 3 seasons.
Vikings keep it on the ground. Alfred Anderson trying to get to the corner, to the 5. He is in. Touchdown, Minnesota.
And few defenses can prevent being victimized by the big play talents of Anthony Carter.
Wade Wilson will work from the shotgun. Wilcher jumps in there as an extra defensive lineman. Here he comes, and so do the Rams on the blitz. Got a ball. Anthony Carter at the 10 to the 5. And Wade Wilson hooks up with a deep ball. First and goal at the 5. Wade Wilson rolls and throws. And Carl Hilton for the touchdown.
Minnesota's decisive playoff victory galvanized a Metrodome crowd that had come to expect the Vikings' electrifying mix of winning football. This team embraced greatness for much of 1988. Although the Super Bowl proved elusive, one fact was inescapable. The NFL summit is not out of reach. But there is unfinished business on the horizon, and a firm resolve in 1989 to win the Central Division en route to that final step forward.